Is cloud not enough? I'm Tonya Hall for ZDNet and Tech Republic, and joining me is Vineet Jain. He is the co-founder and CEO of Egnyte. Welcome, Vineet.
Thank you.
What does Egnyte do, and why did you found the company?
I and three others, we started Egnyte. This is our 11th year. And we were fundamentally looking at solving the problem of a business having something called a file server, which could be as small as a file server in a closet or file server in a data farm with all kind of attached storage. And the idea was, could we move this into a multi-tenanted hosted model, which people call the cloud, and get the advantages of scale, but also higher security, flexibility, and all the things that the cloud brings. So that was the underpinning of Egnyte. And today, we have become the file-serving platform, solving problems all the way from file sharing within the enterprise, outside the enterprise, a centrally managed file server, archival, and a bunch of use cases. But fundamentally, the only thing you will need to manage all your content related to whether it's people working on it directly or programs generating content or consuming content, that's fundamentally what Egnyte's all about.
Explain the concept of infrastructure modernization. What are businesses growing more comfortable moving their content and operations to the cloud?
Sure. And this is a term that got coined recently or in the past couple of years by the likes of Gartner and IDC, actually. And from my point of view, because we are all about unstructured data or unstructured content, what started off with the cloud being initially used for file sharing has graduated into IT looking at and saying, can I move all my content-related capabilities from me managing the data center, which would be file servers, direct or network attached storage, FTP possibly if they're doing cross-site data transfer, VPN for remote access, backing up that data. And then if you're a larger company, you would have your dedicated MPLS networks. Or if you have cross-site collaboration with huge amounts of data being exchanged between the two sites, like one of our customers, Coach, you would possibly have WAN accelerators from the like of Riverbed. A lot of this hardware you had to manage, maintain, and depreciates, then you have to upgrade. What we're seeing as a major trend in the last 3 years is what started off as file sharing, or EFSS as the acronym goes, has transformed into IT saying, I want to move all this hardware, all my CapEx into the cloud, and essentially convert it to OpEx, and furthermore reduce the OpEx. So the term infrastructure modernization is translated to me moving everything that I used to do without loss of functionality, but into the cloud without having any loss of functionality or any issues related to change management. So one of the core things for us is a belief that I've had, which by the way, is also my Twitter handle, Cloud Not Enough, was a core belief that you're taking something that's run behind the firewall and you're moving that into what people call the cloud. I never for a moment believed, and I won't even believe for the next 10 years, that it's a complete substitution play, albeit there'll be a more and more acceleration of data to the cloud. But the role of on-prem data, even if it's cache data, that will essentially mutate. It will not completely disappear. And hence, I believe the world will be hybrid in a lot of use cases. So today when I look at, we have around 15,000 customers. Any 100 logos we have signed in the recent past, I could safely say, Tonya, that 55% would be cloud only to start with. The other 45% will have cloud as well as on-prem, where the end user doesn't know where my data is being served from. They get data closest to the edge the fastest possible way, and keeping both the system consistent, concurrent, locking issues, all of that we handle.
How are smaller businesses embracing cloud?
Actually, incredibly, when we started off the company, the early adopters are typically the SMBs, as we call them, the small, medium businesses. It could be prosumers, it could be consumers as well. What I've seen in the last 10 years is that the shift has happened where the adoption curve has gone beyond SMB and has got into mid-market in terms of becoming mainstream. So the way we segment the market is the small, medium businesses, the mid-market class of customers, and the very large enterprise, which is essentially your Fortune 2500. We, without any doubt in our go-to-market strategy, are focusing on SMB and mid-market, not the large enterprise in terms of chasing the big blue whales. The product scales handsomely. We have customers like Red Bull Worldwide, Coach, as I was mentioning earlier, IKEA, quite a few. But the larger customers are inbounded to us. Our go-to-market strategy is 100% focused on what I define as SMB mid-market being a company that maxes out in terms of employees at around 10,000.
You actually said to me that you feel like the term machine learning is a bit overused, but I want to understand how machine learning and artificial intelligence are enhancing data security, privacy, and regulatory compliance.
So, I'm so glad you said that, because I kind of find it funny that a lot of people will use the term machine learning and AI interchangeably. That they are kind of two distinct things to an extent. One is a superset of the other. A lot of people are doing basic machine learning before we go and start talking about AI. And unfortunately, even people writing code, which is an if-then-else statement, becomes machine learning, which in my opinion is not machine learning. But coming back to core machine learning, we have been focusing on using elements of that in two aspects. One is, as you rightfully pointed out, improving the security parameters of the product you provide. So classical example in our case is we provide this content infrastructure and content governance solution in one platform. And related to content governance, one of the concerns people have while they're pushing more and more data to the cloud is a growing sense of the insecurity of the cloud that people perceive, and issues related to anomalous user behavior detection. Issues related to seeing a pattern where, for example, finance is downloading a lot of data around quarter end or month end, but in general, for the rest of the month, their activity level is pretty normal. Being able to sense that suddenly there's a spike doesn't mean that there's anomaly. There's a seasonality associated with that. Being able to learn and being able to figure out, based on the social graph of the people in your organization, this is okay or this is not okay. That's one of the examples. The other is enhancing the search capability. For instance, anybody can give you things related to my recently used files, right? Or recently accessed files, or files that have been shared with me. But can the system go beyond that and start looking at patterns in terms of all the content that is being stored in your cloud platform, which in this case is us, or your Windows file servers that we integrate with, and start seeing some patterns and recognizing that this content might be interesting to you, and being able to intersperse that when you look for my recently used files, it could say, these are the recommendations as well. So kind of the recommendation engine that people have gotten used to in an Amazon or in a Yelp or something like that, but more at the enterprise content level.
What trends do you see in 2019 that will shape enterprise data storage and security?
So clearly, we're seeing more and more data being moved to the cloud much more rapidly, and I would give you examples of our own experience. In 2017, we were seeing a rate of data ingestion in our cloud. We have 3 data centers, 2 in the US, 1 in in Amsterdam. We were getting a petabyte in around a month. In 18 beginning, we started getting a petabyte in 15 days. And obviously that is getting higher and higher. So the payload that people are moving into the cloud, they're getting more comfortable. And also it's been driven by the larger class of customers are adopting the cloud beyond your prototypical SMB and mid-market. So there will be one trend is going to be more data being moved to the cloud for sure, more use cases being mapped to the cloud and retiring all kind of hardware. But thirdly, as I mentioned earlier, while they're moving all of this data to the cloud and mapping multiple use cases, concerns around data security are multiplying. So people are looking at threat intelligence, risk assessment, compliances like GDPRs of the world. So asks around data security are actually exponentially increasing while they are simultaneously moving more data to the cloud.
Vineet Jain, co-founder and CEO of Egnyte, thank you for taking some time to shed some light on this. If somebody wants to find out more about your work, how can they do that?
Thank you, Tonya. My email address is probably one of the best ways. And of course, my Twitter handle, don't forget Cloud Not Enough. My email address is vjain, my first initial last name, at egnyte.com, the company's name.
Thanks again. And if you guys want to find more of my interviews, you can do that right here on ZDNet or Tech Republic, or go to tonyahall.net. Thanks for watching.